When we look at the news, it's incredibly easy to get caught up in daily changes along the front lines in Donbas. We are used to seeing war as a line moving back and forth on map. But today, we're going to talk about a much bigger story that is unfolding far away from those trenches. Ukraine has successfully turned Russia's deep rear, places hundreds of kilometers away from actual fight, into an active high-risk zone. Instead of just fighting trench to trench, Ukraine is using drones or long-range missiles to target real depots, ammunition dumps, and airbases. Military analysts like Michael Kaufman have said Russian tactics are simply not capable of generating any kind of operational and significant breakthroughs, and estimates that the Russian raw losses are more than the 250,000 often cited. Says, quote, that my own estimate is over 400,000. So Ukraine's use of relatively affordable home ground drones has allowed them to physically shape the battle. Today, we are going to explore exactly how this strategy is actually working and why the concept of a safe rear might be a thing of the past for the Russian military. So let's redraw. The idea of a neat, tidy front line just doesn't apply to this conflict anymore. Instead of a solid line, think of the war map as a massive web of connected targets. Ukraine has managed to fly drones all the way into the St. Petersburg region, hitting facilities like the Petersburg oil terminal and the Ust-Luga port complex, which are well over 1,000 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. This was a massive strategic shift. It shows that even areas deep inside Russia are vulnerable. This isn't just happening with isolated incidents. Ukraine has actively targeted over a dozen major Russian oil refineries, reaching as far as Tatarstan, over 1,200 kilometers from the front. At one point, these strikes caused enough disruption that Moscow had to temporarily ban diesel and gasoline exports just to keep their own domestic prices stable. So what does this new map actually looks like in practice? It means that you may currently look in this way. Refineries and fuel depots are being had to slow down the flow of fuel to the current line and reduce state rebellion. One. Number two, broader regions like the Belgorod and Kursk face frequent disruptions, making it much harder to resupply troops, and the relentless presence of drones and missiles even forced the Black Sea to retreat from its primary base in Sevastopol. While the ground forces fight for small places of territory in the east, the supply route and air bases supporting them are constantly under threat. So now let's expand the shield. It's not just about oil and fuel, though. Ukraine is also carefully dismantling the protective shields that guard Russian airspace. They have been systematically hunting down heavily hitting surface-to-air missile systems like the S-300 and the high-advanced S-400 batteries. There's a clear example of this in Crimea, where Ukrainian forces use ATACMS missiles and drones to systematically take out S-400 battery fights at the Zangri and Bolbek airbase. Every time one of these major systems is destroyed, it creates a permanent blind spot in Russians' radar, opening the door for even deeper strikes later on. So the economics of this strategy really favor Ukraine. A swarm of relatively inexpensive drones paired with full precision missiles can overwhelm and destroy an air defense battery that costs hundreds of millions of dollars to build. Replacing these high-end systems takes a lot of time, money, and imported parts, forcing Russia into a really difficult defensive position, I would say. So actually, this is an impossible choice. Russia is the largest country on Earth. It has thousands of kilometers of critical infrastructures. Then, by proving they can strike near major cities like St. Petersburg and Moscow, Ukraine has essentially weaponized Russia's own massive size against. So this creates a very public challenge for the Kremlin when residents see panzer air defense systems being lifted onto the rooftops of government buildings in Moscow, or hear drones overhead that shatter the feeling of security at home. This leaves the Russian leadership an impossible choice. And defend the front line. Yeah, it needs to be a best air defense near the combat zones to protect their troops. But this leaves domestic cities and oil refineries vulnerable to long-range drones. Then they have to defend their homeland. Right? They can pull those missiles batteries back to protect Moscow and St. Petersburg, but doing so leaves their frontline troops and naval base dangerously exposed. And when an air defense system is pulled back to protect a city, it creates a void somewhere else for Ukraine to exploit.